Okay, according to my clock, it is now 8:30. Guess I get to use the hammer. Call the July meeting of the Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee meeting to order, please. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call first?
Ed Peters.
Here.
Mark Helwig. I see he is online.
Okay.
Lee Wilson. Here. Brian Bissonette.
Here.
Jason Weaver. Here. Kevin Sheptick. Full house.
Full house. Okay. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, certification of compliance with open meetings law.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Right. Public comments. I haven't received any. Okay.
Linda Zolmer, resident of the village of Birchwood, Edgewater property owner. And the one agenda item today about a potential agreement with Canva MOU brought to mind that a number of things I'd like this committee and the county board to consider as you go into the 2024 budget. One is to end the MOU or agreement with the DNR for Sawyer County's maintenance of the Tuscobia Trail, a state trail. I think Sawyer County is the only county that went ahead with that. So what had happened in previous years is Mr. Mrotek would come to this committee and report all the problems with the Tuscobia Trail, and then ultimately convince the county board to do an MOU where Sawyer County took over the maintenance. And so you never hear the complaints here at this committee anymore, but if you're out in the public, you sure hear a lot of complaints about the condition of the Tuscobia Trail. So from a cost and time resource perspective, maybe it's time to turn that back to the DNR. Also, one thing that was brought up in the Canva agreement was a donation collection things. Many years ago, starting with the Berkeley, the county put up collection devices, and the county staff didn't feel they had the resources to get the money because that money was supposed to be taken by the county and then distributed as needed to Berkey. Then the county got away from they didn't collect the money. The Berkey did. The Berkey gave the money to the county, and then they eliminated that step to just the Berkey collected the money. And I just don't know if that's a policy that you want to continue or to expand. The other thing is with regard to a winter snowmobile trail going through a private corporation's property, maybe the county can consider insuring that trail and naming that company as an additional insured, especially when you don't do that for other private individuals. And with regard to events on the county trails, there used to be a per estimated participant fee that accompanied the application that this committee approved. Maybe it's time to reconsider opening up, having fees again for those events to help cover county costs. And then also maybe it's a good time to review all the MOUs and agreements with the Berkey, with Canva, and with the Sawyer County Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Anybody online? Thank you. Okay, item number 6, consider approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Okay, do we have a second? Okay. Any discussion? Yes. Yes. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any comments from those online, Brian or Mark?
No.
No.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye, approving the minutes.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Register of Deeds update. We have a report. Any questions? Hearing none, I will accept that report as printed. And then there's also a real property lister report. Moving on, well, let's see, item number 8, events. Are there any?
None for this month.
Not for this month, thank you. Number 9, land records and county surveyor report.
Okay, so, Kimberly has, so Kimberly's got a report there, showing our transfers. Got 2 board reviews scheduled for July and another 4 municipalities as of yet unscheduled this year. So we're moving along, and you know, the assessment and tax process. As well as that, you know, we've been attending a virtual conference this week, put on by ESRI, the software provider for our GIS software. In addition to that, we installed a new GIS server this month that we'll be migrating our data over to. That server allows us to you know, create our in-house maps, post those online, and allows us also to collaborate on data, you know, within the organization. So we've updated that and are moving our data over to that this month. So.
Any questions for Greg? Or Chris, excuse me, Chris. Hearing none, thank you very much. Recreational, moving on to item 10, Sawyer County Forestry Department Recreational Trails Report. Any motorized, non-motorized?
The trails have been hot, dry, and dusty, as we all know. Even the trails that are characteristically wet throughout the year are bone dry. We are seeing less of the game birds on the trails. We usually see a lot of game birds on several of the trail loops, especially through LCO. Not seeing many of those this year, so I don't know where they went or what happened. The dry year has prompted tremendous weed growth. We've been doing a lot of brushing around signage. A lot more is needed. We've also been doing some mowing. The oak wilt restrictions are on until the 15th, so we've not been cutting any of the oaks as of yet. We've been bulldozing trails and trying to grade some of the trails, although grading has been the best time to grade is when the ground is wet.
Sure.
And obviously we haven't had that, so it's a slower process than we'd like. LCO Trail 30 has been recently rerouted due to some construction in the field there. And I think that looks really, really good. So they did a nice job of that. I haven't read trail counters in quite a while. I'm just behind. I'm busy with real estate, and in my spare time, I've been working on the trails, which has been more important than reading trail counters. So I'll eventually get to that. The only other thing I want to note that one thing I've seen working up in Sealy Hills a lot is the majority of the riders I've seen this year are all wearing helmets, which is unusual. So that seems to be a trend that we all like to see. Even people in UTVs I see 4 and 6-seater UTVs, and every one of them has had helmets on, which I didn't see in the past years as often as this year. So that's a good sign. That's it, unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Thanks very much. That the change in the helmet wearing is a welcome thing. But we could all use some rain. Let's see, county forest report.
Yeah, okay, so for a month of June, we had 12 sales listed as active. We've had a pretty good start to our spring and summer logging season, and we should see a uptick in activity once the oak wilt restriction comes off later this week. So we're looking at a busy summer yet. Dry conditions are quite favorable for the logging activity, so there is that positive with the weather right now. Sale value sold and uncut on file is just over 5 million, pardon me. Sale revenue for June, I'm having all sorts of problems here. For June should be just under 114,000. So our year-to-date revenue is 1.4 million. So we are well on our way for our target revenue for the year. If everything holds through, we should have a very good year. Sale inspections are on target. We're starting to get some tracks submitted for review. With the hot weather, foresters have been doing a little bit more office work, catching up on the field work. Recon acres are on target. We did have a little bit of good neighbor authority hours put in June. Like I said, oak wilt will be coming off on the 15th. Nothing new to report for mountain bike or Berkey. We did have 7 trail rehab projects bid out last month. We did have acceptable bids on all 7 projects, so that's a nice improvement from the last couple of years where we've been struggling to get contractors. So we do have an attached sheet that summarizes the bids. 6 out of the 7 are known contractors that we worked with in the past. We did have 1 new contractor, Minocqua Grading, that was low bid on a project, so they're new for us to work with. So all contracts have been out and signed, so they do have until the end of next year to complete these projects. Additionally, Sawyer County is on schedule for our certification audit this year. That is taking place on July 31st through August 4th. This is an audit of the entire county forest system, so all 30 counties are audited, but they select a sample each year to do a segment of us. So it's been probably 6 or 7 years since the last time that we've participated in a field audit. So there's a bit of a workload going in to prepare for that with paperwork, but we're dual certified here. So there is a field audit. So they look at all of our, they have a selection of timber sales they look at to make sure we're complying with all the requirements of our contract and certification requirements. And we're still working through some of the data requests for the carbon credit project. So that's all I have for the monthly. If you have any questions?
Okay. I was just wondering, I mean, there's on the active sales, a number of years there that are all zeros. And then under the inactive sales, those same years show a number of different sales that are still remaining and have a lot of estimated income.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a schedule for when those inactive sales may be relet or?
Well, they're still under contract, so.
Okay.
For our standard, we do a 2-year contract without any increase, and then we'll do the 3rd year, they can have an extension with a 10% increase in price, and then we do a 4th year for a 15%. We do have some sales that we granted an extra year due to the COVID issue and with Verso closing the mill. So we have some that will go 5 years, but our base timber sales will only go 4 years. So this is just the way that I track it, because they'll move from active to inactive. I mean, sometimes they'll finish a sale once they're in, but a lot of them, with the markets the way they are, they'll hop in and they'll be active for a few months and then they'll move back out, either due to weather or markets. So I guess that's about all I can tell you, is they do have, like, some of these older sales, we're expecting they will be completed, within the 4 years. So, the 18s are obviously at the last year. So those we're anticipating to be completed yet this year. The 2019s likely within a year or two to be completed.
Okay, thanks. That was very helpful. And any other questions regarding those sales?
Mr. Chair, not regarding the sales, but in the report, there's the bids for the trail maintenance. Typically, should I have a motion from the committee to accept those, the low bids? Or
we haven't required committee approval for quite a few years, so it's at this
Okay.
point just informative.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding county forestry report? I certainly met a lot of empty log trucks going east on B as I came over this morning. So the item C, the Canva MOU discussion and possible action.
Yeah, so we have a draft of a MOU for Canva that we're basically trying to button up and formalize what Canva's already doing with the maintenance on the trails. This is really similar to the Berkey MOU that we approved a few years ago. Canva's looking at, they've got some significant grants that they've applied for that requires this MOU in place to be eligible for the grant. I see Ron Burgeon is here. He's the Canva representative. If he'd like to present. Sure.
Come up to the microphone, please. Thank you.
I've been in this part of the building. I went to the old building, so it's a nice facility. So as Greg mentioned, my name is Ron Burgeon. I'm the former executive director for Canva. Now I work with Canva as the Trails director, and I do some grant writing. And significant part of the impetus for this MOU, besides the fact that it's something we've been longing to have for a number of years to formalize relationship and spell it all out in legal terms, is that this particular grant is a recreational trails program, RTP, and that is federal money that is allocated to the states. And in each state, it's done a little bit differently. In Wisconsin, it's administered by the DNR. So we work through the DNR on this. And basically one of the stipulations is that we have a formal agreement with the landowner, in this case, the county, to be authorized to simply have the trails and work on the trails and build trails. It's a pretty standard thing. It's a beneficial thing for both parties to have everything spelled out, exactly what is expected of us and how we work together. So essentially that's kind of what pushed us in this direction to try to get this done. In the past, we've simply stated, in a grant application, for example, The trails are authorized by the comprehensive land use plan, which is true. But it was not sufficient this time around in the grant to satisfy the requirement that there be a grant, an agreement in place. I don't know how many other grants like this that you work with, but the grant administrators have been changing over quite regularly in the last 4 or 5 years. So, one retired, another came in, she retired. Now there's a new one. She's going back to school next month. So it's a little crazy trying to keep up with it all. But it seems every time there's a new person, however, they raise the bar and they're much more strict and by the book when it comes to requiring all these things. So that's another factor. But I think in the forest plan, actually, there is a stewardship agreement program that we've never quite been able to get put together, and now hopefully this will satisfy that, and we can move forward and won't have to deal with it again.
Any questions?
Ron, could you answer Ms. Zilmer's question about the donation tubes and how those are used and distributed?
So those have been authorized in the past by the committee, and it's, I think, in the authorization that we received, the donations accrued directly to CAMBA. They're collected and deposited and used to offset trail maintenance expenses. The reality of it is we don't have a lot of donation tubes that are active anymore. It hasn't been a particularly strong fundraising effort. So yeah, that's kind of the situation right now.
Yes, Greg.
Yeah, if I could just further on that, with the donation tubes, with the Berkey agreement, we went back and forth on that quite a bit. Historically, the Berkey did have the donation tubes, and the Berkey collected the money, and then they turned it into the county, and then we in turn paid the money back out to the Berkey based on maintenance reports that they put out. It's through our experience, the maintenance monies that the Berkey was putting in, and now with CAMBA, it far exceeds what any of the donations were. Berkey has kind of shifted away, I think, from the tubes in general, and they do the trail pass. But as part of that MOU that we worked through several years ago, the language for the Berkey MOU, we just shortcut that system, so the county wasn't, basically just taking money in to put it right back out to the organization. So that's kind of, and this is based similarly to the Berkey MOU. So I mean, that was a pretty long discussion that we had with the Berkey MOU a few years ago. So we decided to just use the same format with this MOU.
Okay, I did have came across a couple things, just some questions. Under section number 6, the reroutes, it says proposed reroutes greater than 0.25 mile. CAMBA will require by CAMBA will require prior permission by the county. I assume, is that your permission then, Greg? Is that?
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past. If it's a reroute, I've typically gone out and looked at if it's a substantial, we've gone out and looked at it. Mostly it's, it's for erosion issues or trail conditions. So we've just done that, through the office, a bigger reroute, like a new trail that we would come through as a new trail for the committee to review. But for the reroutes, we've always felt it was part of the initial approval of the trail, so it's just solving a problem. So we've just handled that, through the office.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess under maintenance, that Canva may prune brush and hanging branches that interfere with trail travel with acceptable pruning methods. And my question was with regard to oak wilt that was brought up earlier in terms of things. I was assuming that would be a part of the
Yeah.
shall we say, checking on that.
Yeah,
So,
it's not listed, but we were already they're pro, ATV groups and Canva, they're well aware of our restrictions. So we work through that. So it's not specifically listed, but we do apply that restriction on maintenance.
okay,
And I can just add that we're very conscious of the oak wilt situation, and we make all of our volunteers or our trail summer crew aware also. And
sure.
if there are any significant trees, we avoid them and try not to, do anything that might promote spread of oak wilt.
Sure. And I guess the only other thing I think it was mostly formatting and a couple of typographical errors as I went through this. And I don't know if we can talk about that after the meeting or whatever when it's signed. So thank you. Any questions?
I just make a comment. I noted this agreement we've had for a couple of weeks, and we had it off to the attorney to review, and Canva had some additional back and forth with the attorney. So I noticed some edits, some quotations that should be apostrophes and
Yes.
spacing. So I didn't see any edits to the content, but just more,
Yes. Yes.
grammatical that we'll clean up before the board meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Ed, I just and through the back and forth with Canva and our corp counsel, there is one piece that I would like to see addressed, before we go to county board, and that's under section 5. There's a sentence that states permittee may bring proposals for the construction of new single track trails and to use existing ski trails, snowmobile trails, and 2 tracks. The initial discussions with Rebecca, we're looking at striking that the part of the sentence and to use existing ski trails, snowmobile trails, and 2 tracks, and just have it the permittee may bring proposals for the construction of new single track trails. So we didn't want to list specific trails that they would be looking at. So I don't think that really changes a whole lot, but it's something that we kind of wanted to have dropped out of there.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Helwig, Mr. Bissonnette?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kate?
Well, thanks for working this through so quickly. I know it was a kind of condensed timeline, and legal matters take time, so appreciate that. So, I'm curious as to the next steps. Then you mentioned that it has to go yet through the county board, the full board?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll need a motion to accept the MOU.
Edits and Greg's change section 5.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, it's been moved by second. Been moved and seconded to approve the MOU with editorial and editorial changes as suggested before the county board. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion is approved. Sent on to the county board.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. I think the next item is scrolling down here, DNR forestry report.
Hi, I'm Randy Sabrowski, DNR Forestry Technician here in Hayward. I'll be giving Brody's report this morning. He's got here June, as we all know, the hot and dry month, which led to a lot more and higher than normal staffing level conditions for fire. We did receive a little bit of rain at the end of the month to kind of break that trend. But as for the county forest hour requirement due on June 17th, we have surpassed the time standards of 2,217 hours with 2,269 hours assisting the county. During the month of June, that timber marking and sale boundary work was the focus of the work that we did in the field, along with some active and post-harvest inspections. The DNR and Sawyer County have been working together to improve access for wildlife projects, timber harvesting, and general public access. 2 locations that will be happening, or we hope will happen, is the Parks Farm access and through the Lake of the Pines Conservation Easement, or what we call the Iron Gate access. Both these projects have funding attached to them through the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for wildlife management purposes on the DNR side of things. I believe ground or work has already begun on the Parks Farm access. And hopefully we can finish that up next week. And then hopefully when all things are in place, move over to the Iron Gate project and follow through with that. That's all he's got
Okay.
here.
May I ask where these, the Parks Farm access and the Iron Gate are located?
The Iron Gate access is off of Highway W down in the winter block of the county forest. And also the Parks Farm is off of the Thornapple Grade down in the winter block. These go back into some areas that they want to burn and maintain for elk management. And through the Iron Gate one, there's a large block of county forests that would benefit with that road being improved.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Moving on, let's see. Zoning and conservation report.
Yeah, nothing significant to report this month. Just still extremely busy in both the zoning and conservation realms with just general workflow, office visits and phone calls. Still looking at the potential issues and solutions to the Billy Boy flowage water levels. We had a meeting last week with Corp Council and DNR. So I'll hopefully have some more to report next month on that front.
And how is everything going on the Lake Loretta?
Should be complete. We had a call from one of the supervisors there that there was some silt fence or silt sock that was kind of trapped in one of the wing walls, and we had staff go down there earlier this week and it was gone already. So don't know where it went or if someone already grabbed it before we could get there, but it was not there. But I mean, all of our lakes right now are down because again, we've heard it in several different reports. It was a hot and dry last couple of months with no precip, so can't make it rain.
Okay. There was one thing that did come up at the Draper Town Board, and that was whether or not is there one of the stop logs there, is that one level apparently is missing from one of the bays.
Right. So we looked in that earlier this week as well, and we don't have that stop log. So I don't know if it's actually missing or if that was the number of stop logs that was in there. So I have a call or at least an email out to our engineer to look at it. But at this point, I think we have all the stop logs in. And again, with normal rainfall and precipitation, yeah, you would have that 1.5 on the gauge as opposed to closer to the 1.2 it's at right now. So at this point, no, I don't think there is a missing stop log, but again, have that email out to the engineer to, again, take a look at that.
Okay,
So.
thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
My question is just on that Billy Boy. Is there a minimum flow that we need to have into that river to maintain the habitat and wildlife in there?
Yeah, so there is a 10% base flow that needs to be passed, and that is through that spill gate, which is the far gate, which actually it's not necessarily a functioning gate unless we need to actually do a drawdown. So there is still base flow being passed at this point. And again, with the water levels where they're at, that's probably going to be minimum until we get some precipitation.
Any other questions? Thanks very much. USDA report. Evan?
There's not much going on right now in the month of July. The July 14th is a extended deadline for emergency relief program. That's the ERP. It's phase 2 for the pandemic assistant revenue program. July 15th is all crops reporting has to be in for like corn, alfalfa, hay, and stuff like that. Then July 17th, nominations for anybody that wants to apply to be a county committee member for the west side of Sawyer County. That's what's the district I'm in right now. So mine time is coming up here by January. So I have to the 17th to decide if I'm going to run again or not. And like I say, we need more rain. It's getting really, really dry for the farmers. Second crop's on the way right now, but it's only like a third of what first crop has been. The soybeans are just starting to flower and it's only 6 inches tall. So we could be in some trouble here come fall time. So that's all I have.
Personally heard of a number of complaints on hay production. So it's pretty rough. Okay, LCO report, Brian?
Good morning. I don't want to keep repeating about how dry and dusty it is and how bad we need rain, but, just kind of repeating what Kathy had reported, that we end up in a situation where we're building a new health center just south of the casino and nobody had communicated to us. And so in a mad rush, we rerouted it. And so I just want to thank Kathy for bringing out signs and getting caught up in all the confusion out there. So, but so far it seems pretty good outside of, like I said, outside of the dust. We could use the rain. So, so far so good.
Okay, any questions? Thanks very much. Moving on, item 12, future agenda items. Any things on the horizon that we need to be addressing coming up? Sounds like it'll be mainly reports again next time through. Correspondence, reports, conferences. Hearing none, we are adjourned.